And all of the meetings are going to be open to the public as well. So if any of you have colleagues that you'd like to join us, they are very welcome. I know we have a few guests on the line today, so thank you very much for your time and participation as well. Additionally, I'd just like to remind everybody, please don't make substantive chat. We want to make sure that nothing gets lost in the Zoom chat. And if possible, we'd love to see your smiling faces on camera. Really appreciate that. So that's it for me in housekeeping matters. And it is my pleasure at this time to turn it over to ACUS Chair Andy Foyce for opening remarks. Andy, take it away.
You're on mute.
I'm mute, Andy, sorry.
Oh, you'd think I know the drill here by now after all these years, but I just wanted to say thank you, Alexandra, for recognizing me and for including me in the agenda today. I want to welcome Alexandra or echo Alexandra's welcome to everyone to this working group, and to thank you again for your willingness to participate in the project. Special thanks, of course, to our chair, Aaron Worth, our reporter, Lou Borelli, and to ACUS counsel, Alexandra herself. I can assure you that everyone at ACUS is very grateful for your participation and your contribution. This project, as many of you know, has its roots in the report of Professor George Cohen to ACUS in December of 2021, and the resulting 15-point recommendation adopted by the conference later that month. Recommendation 2021-9 asked the Office of the Chair to consider promulgating model rules of conduct consistent with the recommendation, and in doing so, to seek the input of a diverse array of agency officials and members of the public, including those who appear before agencies and the American Bar Association. And Jeremy has just informed me of the news that, in fact, the ABA's House of Delegates just adopted its meeting now, and it just adopted a resolution supporting the ACUS recommendation. As the recommendation advised, the Office of the Chairman convened this working group of public and private representatives to develop the model rules of representative conduct that, as contemplated by the recommendation, account for variation in agency practice and afford agencies the flexibility to determine which rules will apply to their unique adjudicative proceedings. The resulting model rules are intended to help federal agencies amend or develop their own rules governing representatives in adjudicative proceedings, consistent with the best practices identified in the recommendation. Presentation before administrative agencies, as you all know better than I, is an important, if somewhat neglected issue. In my view, the issue starts, or at least the problem starts, with ensuring that everyone who needs representation, including the traditionally underserved communities, is able to get it. ACUS is working on separate tracks with both the White House and the Legal Services Corporation on that access issue. But of course, the problem just starts there. Once representation is available, many issues about the qualifications, rules of conduct, enforcement of those rules, and transparency emerge, as our reporter Lou Borelli addresses in his paper. Enforcement of those rules and transparency emerge. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Those are two of the four issues that Professor Borelli addresses. Guidance on those issues will be of great use to agencies as they consider representation within their own agency. This will be a long and in-depth process that will, if the circulated schedule is adopted, take us all, especially you, until June of next year. So let's get started. And Erin, it's all yours.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Andy. Thank you for getting us started off and for all the important work that you and everyone at ACUS does for administrative agencies. So with that, I'm going to jump right in. We have been charged with drafting model rules of representative conduct. This is part of the ACUS recommendation 2021-9, which was included in your materials. Maybe this would be a good time, Bill, just to let you briefly weigh in and give us an update about the ABA resolution.
Well, it was a long, hard fight, but eventually we prevailed, and the ABA, at the sponsorship of the Administrative Law section of the ABA, of which I'm the liaison to ACUS, we did get through the House of Delegates without a negative vote, a resolution that supports the ACUS recommendation that we're dealing with here, albeit with a caveat. And the caveat is that to the extent that the recommendation is consistent with the ABA model rules, which we think they are, but also consistent with ABA longstanding policy against agencies having general standards of conduct for attorneys that may practice before them or represent clients who are regulated by them in the broad sense. The ad law section, didn't think there was much conflict between that policy and the particular recommendation of ACUS, but it's one of the things that Wendy Muchman, who is also a representative of the ABA to this model rules group, will be looking to make sure that we think that, to the extent that we can, convince you to limit it to ways that are consistent with the ABA policy. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the timely update. We have an excellent reporter, Professor Lou Varelli from Stetson Law, who has proposed a systematic approach to our discussions. What we'd like to do today is to get us started and focused by deciding on our project plan. So a draft project plan was circulated prior to the meeting. Hopefully you all had a chance to look at it. Basically, we were suggesting that the project be broken down into 4 sections. Those sections would be qualifications, conduct, enforcement, and transparency. The proposal is to have 4 subcommittees, 1 for each topic, with each member of the whole working group sitting on at least 1 subcommittee, although of course you can attend more. And the draft proposal includes timeframes to keep us on track. So I'd like to start by letting Lou jump in and add any details I have left off, and then open it to any questions or suggestions from the working group members. So Lou, go right ahead.
Well, thank you, Erin. And I just want to say it really is an honor to be part of this group and to be the reporter on this project. I think it's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to all of your input to guide me as I do what I understand to be primarily the drafting at your direction. I want to thank George Cohen, who I've not met in person, but he's done the laboring. He's carried the laboring oars so far and laid overwhelmingly the groundwork for this. So thank you, George, and please do not be shy about reaching out to me with your thoughts anytime you'd like. And that's true for all of you, right? So this project plan was designed to create a jumping off point. We could organize ourselves. I want everybody's participation to be efficient from their perspective, right? So my primary goal is to have the working group feel like they are guiding this project without feeling like it is overwhelming them. And that is the reason for thinking about subcommittees and subdivisions, but in no way, shape, or form would I ever envision excluding anybody from any part of the project you'd like to be a part of. And that includes reaching out to me separately, as well as participating in the framework that I've proposed here. So thank you all very much. And thank you, Erin, for taking the helm here.
Great. Does anybody have any questions or comments, either about the 4 categories or the subcommittee approach? All right, excellent. If there's no further questions or discussion, I would propose that we adopt the proposed project plan. Any disagreement? All right, we'll consider that adopted. The next step is going to be to determine which committees people serve on. So if you know now, you're welcome to tell Alexandra. You can email her after this. If you're, as we said, you're welcome to have a few that you're interested in. We ask that everybody commit to working on at least one of the subcommittees, and we would like to have those scheduled within the next week or two so that we can move forward. I think the schedule has the first subcommittee meeting, which is going to be qualifications sometime in the March or April timeframe. So we'd like to get the subcommittee lists nailed down now or in the near future. And other than that, we don't have a whole lot we need to cover at this meeting. So I know everybody's busy. I'm not opposed to ending early, but I also want to give people time to provide feedback. So please, I know there's a bunch of us, but please feel free to jump in if you have any comments you want to make at this time. And hearing none, I had one other question for you, Lou, which was, is there anything that we can do that would make your job easier? I know before this meeting, I went ahead and pulled up my agency's rules to refresh my memory on what those were. And I'm happy to provide those to you. Would that be helpful, or is there anything else we can do to be helpful to you?
Thanks, Erin. Yes, I think it would be tremendously helpful for anybody here who has access to their own agencies or any agencies, frankly, model rules to share those with me. I know George has a treasure trove of information, but a lot of that's already been recorded, which is great. But I think I can't have enough source material. So if you all have evidence from your own agencies, whether it's anecdotal or more formal in terms of adopted rules or anything in between, I'd be grateful for them. Bill, if you'd be willing to share with me sort of the ABA's language. I know you sort of talked about the caveats, but I certainly want to be mindful of those.
Sure.
And I want to encourage everybody to treat our interactions as sort of an open door. I can't, in my view, be the recipient of too much help. So, and I'm grateful for all of your expertise. The only way I can mess this up is by not taking advantage of the collective wisdom of the group. And that's what I refuse to do that. As for the subcommittees, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And I encourage you, in addition to signing up for one, which we humbly ask you to do, to feel welcome at any and all meetings, of course. And if you are on the fence, hopefully we'll be able to keep a running total of who is where. It would be nice to have some sort of a proportionate distribution across subcommittees. I think it's fair to say the conduct subcommittee will likely have the largest number of rules to talk about, the second group. So that's something to keep in mind, but I'm an optimist. So I am counting on sort of the organic version of this process, solving all of our problems without having to worry about anything going forward. And I insist on taking that view until I'm proven wrong. So thank you all again. And please reach out with any examples from your own agencies or examples you are aware of from any agencies, so I can try to collect that baseline of data as we go forward.
Bill Stock, did you have a comment?
Yeah, or maybe a comment or a request for clarification. And I know one of the thorny issues, and it may be unique. So I was former president of the American Immigration Lawyers Association and member of the ABA Commission on Immigration. We have a unique setup. Maybe it's not unique, right? Somebody else can point this out, where we have representatives of one federal agency appearing before a different federal agency. And my question is it the intention of this group to have rules that would apply to both government attorneys and to private attorneys and other representatives, or is that sort of a question that's been set aside? Because I know it raises all kinds of thorny issues of management of federal employees and lots of other stuff.
Something
tells me I should answer that.
Well, I can say that the recommendation, the ACUS recommendation, is limited to private lawyers and non-lawyers who are in the private sector. It does not apply to government lawyers, which is an interesting distinction, but that's what the recommendation has.
Thank you, Bill. And that's my understanding too. Well, to both bills, I suppose, right? That was my understanding too. I also think that as I read the recommendation, most of the substantive work of the model rules will be focused on non-attorneys, simply because the Agency Practice Act answers a lot of questions, not all of them, right? But as I've been thinking about the beginning of the qualification section, I find myself thinking mostly about issues of waiver by the agency and potential discipline opportunities for the agency, or basically things that George mentions in his report that wouldn't be, I don't think would focus on or bring into focus the distinction between public and private attorneys. I think they could be limited to private attorneys pretty clearly. I think the government ethics rules will kick in, but we can talk more about that. And of course, Bill Stock or anyone, if you have any thoughts, I'm anxious to hear them.
Great. Thank you, Bill Funk.
I wanted to ask Aaron, as well as anybody else who's in an agency that has rules governing people participating before them. I mean, I would like to see them as well. I mean, in terms of seeing what agencies have done. So if there are agencies that have actually adopted rules, I think I'd like to see them, and maybe there'd be a central repository from at least among the people in this group that have them to put it in, so we could use them.
That's a great idea. Any other comments? I wanted to turn it over to Alexandra, since you'll be responsible for our subcommittee assignments and for coordinating the next meeting. Is there anything that would be helpful for you?
I will let you all know. I will follow up with the entire group after this meeting, since there are a few folks who weren't able to make it today. I will include notes from today's meeting as well. And I look forward to assigning everyone to subcommittees and scheduling the next meeting. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Great. Well, if everybody can look at the list of those 4 categories and send Alexandra an email letting her know what you'd be interested in serving on, we'll go ahead and set up that first set of meetings. Meanwhile, if there are sample rules, we'll send them either to me or to Lou, and we'll work with Alexandra on figuring out the best way to share all of those. I think that's a great suggestion we can move forward with. And also, if you think of something after this meeting, please feel free to reach out to me, to Lou, to Alexandra at AGUS, and let us know. We certainly want to hear from you in whatever way is easiest and best for all of you. We really appreciate everyone's expertise who is here. We're very thankful that you're willing to give some of your time and your thoughts and your active participation in the working group. That will really help us come up with model rules that are useful and applicable. So I really appreciate everyone's efforts. So hopefully this is a good omen that we can end early and let people get back to their busy lives. Any further comments, Lou, Alexandra, or anyone before we end the meeting? All right. Well, excellent, everybody. Have a great afternoon. We look forward to seeing you at the first subcommittee meeting.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.